Be careful what you ask for is what we're going to talk about today. Be careful what you ask for. And that alone, that title, can be taken different ways, but a lot of people take topics like this and then just kind of do a very mundane talk about it. This topic alone, this title alone, has all kinds of layers. Be careful what you ask for. And one of the weirdest, coolest, deepest layers to it is not just be careful what you ask for. It's sort of like, ask and you shall receive. The truth isn't just, it's not like a great idea. And people use that with selfishness. They turn anything into selfishness. Hey, I like this Jesus or this Christ thing, ask and you shall receive. I like that. Why? Because I get to ask for things. That's not what it's about. Ask and you shall receive. Ask and believe and you shall receive. Actually is also telling you why you received anything that's happening in your life. You had to have asked for it. No, wait a minute. I don't like that. I like the other way of reading it. I get to ask for things and I get to get them. I like that. No, see, what I talked about last week, one of the pieces to it was that idea that you cannot own great spiritual laws if you're not going to own them completely. You can't pick which parts of them are going to be true. I like prosperity, that if I give anything, it all comes back tenfold. See, I have an agenda to it because I want tenfold. What if you were told, no, you're not going to get anything in return for it other than consciousness on the other side? Oh, well, that's no good investment. Consciousness, how can you prove that I'm going to get that? So people wouldn't be as excited about donating and tithing and that sort of thing. Ask and ye shall receive means, and you have received exactly as you have asked. It's a tough one because it involves responsibility, which we talked about last week. That's what it was. I think it was called responsible co-creating. There we go. All right. So that means, guys, that and I'm not trying to put like a guilt or shame on us when I say responsible. Remember, we talked about this, not blame. So instead of thinking your worst case scenario and then trying to throw out the whole law about manifestation, think of it in this term, at least. On some level, my consciousness, just remember this, it's not like you consciously asked for things. It's not like you said, well, I had this horrible divorce, and Michael said, we asked for this. I don't remember saying, Lord, give me the most dysfunctional human being on the planet. Make sure there's not an ounce of faithfulness in this person, and make sure they know exactly how to steal my money without me knowing it. That's not what you prayed for. I don't mean that. But all that has to happen is in the very slightest amount, you forget who you are and you open the doors to everything. It's all that it takes. 1 ounce of me forgetting is a prayer without me realizing it. That's why Jesus says in A Course in Miracles, you are far too lenient of mind wandering. You have to become more vigilant for your thoughts. And we talked about this last week. It isn't your thoughts that manifest, which is the teachers often tell you. It's your beliefs of who you are. Then that's going to determine your thoughts. Then your thoughts are going to determine your emotions. Your emotions are going to then help to determine your outcome. So I had something happen today. And it looks like it just happened to you. God cannot have things just happen to them. Or it. It can't just happen. Those are excuses to not own who we really are. Because every time you affirm that something just happened and you had nothing to do with it, you're affirming you are not one with God. You are not God. You're not, because you can't be a victim and God at the same time. What's God going to be a victim of? Oh, having such a bad day today, and I'm supposed to be God. What kind of non-God things can happen to God? It doesn't make any sense. But we've become hypnotized by this entire twisted kind of program. So something's happening in your life, whatever it is, or have happened. Some things have, or will happen. Whatever it is. I would like this to not be the way it is. Okay, how badly would you like to change it? Everybody's got a pain tolerance. Do you really have to hit bottom? See, I believe that you don't have to hit bottom. See, a human victim has to hit bottom. Because human victims are just all screwed up. There's a spiritual term for that, I'm sure, but I just used screwed up. So, humans are just going to do that. Masters go, I think today will be bottom. You don't have to have things go worse. Well, it could get worse. Wait. No, I think I'm good. Now that as soon as I know it could get worse, why don't I just call that bad enough? Why do humans go, oh, no, I'm not all the way down yet. Do you have salt to rub in the wounds? Oh, yeah, that's good stuff. That's how, yeah. We don't have to be in pain. Furthermore, do you realize the God in you has no interest whatsoever of you being in pain, us being in pain? None whatsoever. So then if there's a part of me that goes, oh, things aren't quite bad enough yet, that isn't the God part, so why would I want to listen to that part? So there's a point where, I've had people come to me, I want to make changes in my life. It's, how badly would you like to make those changes? And determining, this is all determined by how much I can sense you really want those changes. I might even push a few buttons to see how badly you're ready to make those changes, because then we're on it. We're joined to you and I to make those changes. I've had churches say, how can our center become more like Unity of Sedona? Be careful what you ask for. Because it takes a commitment of consciousness. And how much do you want to change? Do you want a little change? I want my relationships to be better. I want my children to be happier, healthier, whatever. Any category of your life. Everybody thinks it's easy to and it is easy to say, I would like my children to do better. I would like my health to be better. Words are easy for humans. But is it real? So, the main reason why the words are not always coming from the soul of commitment inside is because the more committed you are to the change, the universe is going to say, order up! This person wants to live a life of whatever you're asking for. If you're really committed, the universe gets the message, because what you're really believing inside, I'm ready to be a better person. I'm ready for things to come together. The universe says, whoa, serious. This person sounds serious. And what it orders is not the good you think you're waiting for. It orders up the things that are in the way of your good. Now that doesn't sound like a great positive thinking teacher. I'm supposed to tell you, and then you'll get it. And then you get. Hate is for getting. Love is for giving. The getting is not the answer, man. Not at all. And the ego's riding right along with that. Anything you get, it wants you to become then attached to. You're attached to it before you even get it. But once getting it, once attached, you're just setting yourself up for pain again. So be careful what you ask for isn't just a little kind of we're going to play off a positive saying or a common saying. I'm also warning you that you are already getting what you ask for based on your belief systems. And then empowered by thoughts and emotions and so on. So be careful what you ask for. What is it you really want in your life? Now, if I were you and you don't want anything like tests that are going to bring that thing, don't ask for anything. Just really play dumb. I don't want any improvement whatsoever. No health improvement, no consciousness raising, nothing. I just want like a brick. I'm a brick with eyes painted on and a nose popped on, and I'm just a brick. There's nothing, no new feelings, no growth, no nothing. You're almost safer that way. You're just not a great person, but you're safer. So be careful what you ask for. So we look around us and we see people, I want to make changes. And I always ask, well, how much so? How do we get to become more like Unity of Sedona? And I'll say, well, you do this. Oh, we can't do that. And you got to do this. No, we can't do that. Well, what's not happening at your place? Well, it's either the board is all controlling and weird, or the ministers are sometimes psychotic. So it could go either way, and sometimes both. You have a psychotic minister going after a controlling board, and the controlling board trying to fire the psychotic. No, it can get pretty weird sometimes in centers, churches, and all that. So I just say, here's what I would do. Fire everybody and start over. Because when you hired them and put them in positions, you didn't know what you wanted. You got what you asked for. All craziness because you allowed yourselves to be crazy. Somebody has to stand up and say, wait, this is what I do when churches ask me. Come in and lead us. I say, here's what I'll do. I walk in, we call a meeting, and I don't say, hire this guy. I'm going to channel the answer. Do that. No, nobody knows the answer until the church or the spiritual center or your households know what you want. What do you want? Well, I want someone in my life, a partner. Why? So I don't die alone. You're sick. Put that in your, profile. Users.com. Go to some partner website. Mutualusury.com. I just don't want to die alone. And there's somebody out there that'll go, I'll be there. Is this a healthy hookup? No, not at all. But it can change. What do you want? I say to the churches, guys, what are you about? Stop and listen. Sometimes it'll be the land that has to tell you. Because a certain type of group, a church center, in a certain region isn't right for the region. The old architects that would build based on what the hillside or the prairie or whatever it was asking for. You follow what I'm talking about? Some of those brilliant architects. They would say, you got to ask. You don't plow an area, mass produce 100 houses in it, and call it life. It's already kind of a death. It's kind of like little tombs everybody lives in. There's got to be a feeling. What is that asking for? When I first came here and there wasn't really much of a landscape, I called one day, I said, well, let's have a landscape day, volunteer day. Anybody who wants to show up? And it was 2 70-something-year-old ladies and me. Literally, I think that was it. And the first time. And we walked out there and I said, and they're like, okay, I'll get a shovel. And they're, and I'm like, put the shovels down, ladies. I want you to tell me what this land, this property is asking for. Just walk and you intuit it. Where should there be a path? Where might there be a pond or whatever, just like that. And say, well, I think that, great. And I would, mark it and pull the weeds out of it and keep going. And I just follow them with tools and implements as they're channeling. So they're learning something new, it seemed. But we're asking, and we just have to learn to ask. What is the vibration here? What's really going on here? I shared a story that a lot of people don't know, but when the Bible was being created, there were parts of some of the old books that were being, had been compiled, but there were parts that were left out because they were, with the scrolls they were incomplete sections. So there's some history to this that says when probably the King James, I think it was, version was being created, there were parts that they wanted to repair or alter. And when they did, they asked Shakespeare to basically channel what words would have been in those sections that were missing. What you're doing is just like a song. You're leaving space. You're feeling. Da 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 da. If it's a song, there's a fluidity. There's a rhythm to it, and then you just go, oh, and it would fill itself in. And that's what life basically is doing for us. When you're not tuned into the real, the life, the God, the love, then that's not what the universe is going to fill in. What are you coming from? Fear. Then that's what the universe is going to fill in. Because you're having these sentences without knowing them, because your thoughts and your consciousness is already creating. And the universe is just going, and so it is. And so it is. And so to everything. It's neutral. Because it's saying, you're a child of God, therefore we have to comply with your creations. What would you like today? I don't know. Well, why not? Who are you? I don't know. Oh, well, we have some things for you. Anybody that doesn't know, we have lack and limitation. So we're going to give you some of that today. I didn't ask for that, but you did. You're just trying to be irresponsible. By not knowing there's things that match that. So the universe is always asking, and it's really only asking one question: who are you? And if you added any more to who are you, it would ask, who are you? And based on who you are, what do you deserve today? I am as God created me. And that's a great statement. Here it comes. Things that resonate with I am as God created me. And what are you about? What would you like to manifest? I don't even have to answer that. Because if I am as God created me, everything has its own natural resonance. So I don't have to think. This is what A Course in Miracles means by don't try to make your day happen, which sounds contradictory because I talk about mastery consciousness, make your day happen, in a sense. But it's not. It's doing without doing. So what we're doing is centering into who we are, and then it's like Zen. It all just starts happening. The problem is, there are people that know, well, I definitely made some poor decisions. If I drank too much, I got a hangover. Okay, there's a linear negative, we'll call it. Positives would be, I surrendered the day to God in some way, and I felt so much love today and support today. Those are obvious. In between, which is where most people are, not knowing that they've done anything that brings any kind of result. Just total irresponsibility. And that's what I'm leading to and connecting with today. Be careful what you ask for, because all your thoughts and words are prayers. And I don't just mean karmic words, it's included. I'm talking about consciousness. So when things are coming my way, I've so often had healers say, I just feel terrible because I'm a healer, but I got sick myself. And they looked at it like, so I'm tested with hypocrisy. I feel inadequate. And why? You're letting them, the world, determine who you are based on an external thing. Something's going to happen. It doesn't matter. It's okay. It's how you handle it that you prove you're a healer. Not that you got sick or not got sick. It just doesn't work that way. It's, you can be very ill, and people have been. Peace Pilgrim was killed in a car accident. What a beautiful soul she was. Oh, car accident. She still died. Why does the human mind go, if I see a problem, I get to toss that thing out? Because we can't handle too much goodness. If I see a flaw, I'm going to toss it out. Just let things be. Just chill. Relax. Don't let anything of your senses determine who you are, because that's what's happening. When you allow yourself to see a flaw in yourself or somebody else, what you're doing is making an excuse to not see holiness. But they're not holy, because I saw a flaw. If I were you, I would start working on surrendering what in me decided to see that flaw today. And then you become holier. Trying to fix the flaw, excuse the flaw, deny the flaw, and you're not going to get anywhere. Be careful what you ask for. And this also means not only that everything you've had happen is on some level asked for, but not consciously. Remember, I said, you're not saying I want this. What you're saying is, today I don't know who I am, and that in itself orders up what's going to come to you today. So you don't have to sit there and pick on, well, what did I do wrong? I'm a healer and I got sick. Why? Instead, it is what it is, and let me rest today. Because you can be the greatest healer on the planet, and if you get sick and you're laid up in bed and you're going to pass away, all you need is us thanking you for the work you did. You don't need us sitting around going, like Job in the Bible. Great soul. Great soul. The book of Job starts out, what an amazing soul this guy was. And then things started going wrong, and all his friends go, I guess you weren't as good as we thought you were. That's typical human. But that's not just the people in that story. It's also you and me. We love to find fault. But why? Because then you don't have to look so bad. Give thanks for people who are good, and give thanks to all the parts of yourself that have been really good and clean. Give thanks to all the times you made right decisions. The good's going to keep coming to us. Even in moments when it doesn't look like it's going to, it's going to come to us. The good is us, so it can't not come to us. But the rest are simply tests to make you think you're flawed in some way. So there's a saying by Viktor Frankl, which I've used a few times, but to be a light, you must burn. So if you're going to be a radiant light in this world, be prepared to burn. Now that sounds like an automatic negative affirmation. All I'm saying is, don't think that you're immune to this world just because you become spiritual. The problem's going to be when you decide to turn up the light. Anything that is unlike the light's going to burn off. It's going to, like sometimes you light up, is it pans or barbecues, and at first all the initial grease and all that needs to burn off. All that stuff that's accumulated. If it accumulates too much in your chimney, you're supposed to have those cleaned out once in a while. All this debris is building up, and it's a form of oil that can light up and cause a fire. That's you and I when we're at our worst and not doing any work on ourselves. So it's important for us to recognize that to be a light, I have to burn. And that can be a good thing. I'm going to burn away all that is unlike myself, my true self. And leading to that bigger part. What is it you want to change in your life? Just, you can think of any example. I want to be a better parent. Oh, I wish my kids were happier and healthier and so on. I wish my dog didn't bark so much. Then what do you need to change? Well, I want my kids to be, okay, start learning to set better boundaries. Well, no, because then they won't like me. They already don't like you. No, When they're out of control, when you did not set boundaries with your kids, you actually caused them to resent you. My soul wanted healthy boundaries. You made me feel like I'm not worth anything when you let me do anything I wanted. Or when you overly smothered me with, uptight rules. Somewhere in between is the healthy boundaries. And I've known many a parent, oh, no. I can't, because then they won't like me, and they're my friends. That kind of thing. Don't have kids, man, if you don't want to have to do parental things. Don't own a business if you want to be everybody's buddy and you don't want them to, see you differently. I mean, just blend in with them. Or be a leader. And if you want to be a leader, here it comes, tests. What else do you want? I want a healthy partnership. Then get your couple little thing going on, your partnership, go to a couples counselor. Oh, they'll never go. All I do is hear people telling me they can't do the things that are going to get them the changes they claim to want. Then stop asking. Because when you say you want it and the lessons start coming, the tests start coming, and you fail them, you're going to be worse off than when you started. You're better off acting like a moron. I don't want any changes in my life. I don't want any improvement. Just don't let the universe catch on that you're growing, because then it's going to expect it. Be careful what you ask for. The Unity of Sedona, I came here and it's like everything's great. And I'm like, what do we want here? Christ consciousness. That can't go wrong. Anything that was unlike Christy, that old Christy feeling got me in its spell. So anything that wasn't Christy, up it comes. And I can't just tell people, here's what you do in those cases. It's like, well, we've got to live it. So even to the point of saying to people, behave. Any verbal or any other kind of non-Christy stuff, it's not welcome here. So we have to get rid of those few, and then you have to face that they don't like you. Why don't they like you? Because you're bad? No. They don't like you because you shined light, and they don't like it. Just like the critters under the rocks. They go, crawling away for more darkness. It's going to happen. What do you want? You have to want God as though it's the only thing to want, because it is really the only thing. How badly do you want it? The Buddhist story of the monk who goes to the master and says, how do I find God? How do I reach God? How do I reach heaven, enlightenment, etc.? He says, come to me. Come with me. Out to the water in the lake or whatever. And he submerges him underwater. It's going to be a beautiful baptism where it's, the angels are the scene after you come out of the water. But instead he holds him under and holds him under, holds him under. And the monk is like, at first, oh, okay. Yeah, one with the water. And then pretty soon, I'd like to breathe now. No, I'm not going to breathe. I'm going to be, and you go through all the little intellectualisms to become spiritual, and you override. Then pretty soon it's starting to get annoying. You really need some air, breathing, and you need air, and then holding you under, and then you're like, okay, I'm ready. I got the lesson. Okay, I didn't get the lesson. I got the lesson that I didn't get because I'm so zen. And on and on and on. And nothing, and held underwater. Finally, when the person's absolutely at the very last second, the master lets him up, bah, comes out of the water. The master says, when you want God that badly, you'll find him. When you want God as badly as you wanted air, that's when you'll find him. Only meaning, how committed are you? Now, please don't get tempted to go in the direction of, I need to perfect myself. That's how serious this has to be. I've been through parts of that in my own life, watching myself, fine-tuning, and you have to be really careful. Because the way to resolve that is, you're already there. Your work is not supposed to be to get there, but it is work to accept that you are there. What if I have no more work to do? Oh. So I can now just go back to partying, smoking, drinking, and, do it. Is that what you would do if you were there? Chances are you're going to say, well, no. All I'm asking is to do what you would do if you were already there. Don't work to get there. That's one way to do it, but that's harder work. And you go through all kinds of vacillations of guilt and shames and perfectionisms. Pause. All I'm asking is, let your thoughts, words, and deeds be as though you are there. And then just channel, what is it like to be there? What would it be like to channel if we took a sentence out of the Bible or out of any great poem or song, took it out, and you put something in its place? But how do I know if it's right? As soon as you got quiet and just let anything. It really wouldn't matter because you were just doing your best to be there. So it's not like, well, my sentence wasn't as good as Shakespeare's. I don't know. All that matters is, did you do something? That's again mastery. Just focus and go. Do something. So we learned that I'm going to just come from that place. It's hard. It's far easier to be part of God by imagining that you're already there rather than, I wonder if someday I'm going to deserve it. I wonder if I work harder. Maybe if I meditate 25 hours a day. There isn't 25 hours in the day. Stop, relax. Maybe if I did this and didn't do that, and it's okay. Everything's going to be okay. Well, I would be wonderful if only I weren't, 100 pounds overweight. Who told you that? There's not one being, I swear to you, not one being of light, not an ascended master, not an angel or any form of any archangel, God, Christ, Jesus, Mother Mary, not one being of light can even possibly notice 1 ounce of fat on your body. So why are you caring about it? Yeah, live to be healthy, sure, but don't obsess. Because obsession is always an unsuccessful way to fix something. That's the definition of obsessing. If only, and everybody does it. If only, 1 mile an hour slower, the cop wouldn't have caught me. But he did. Your job is to ask how you're doing with that. Not to figure out how it wouldn't have happened if only. And if only in your health, a different family genetics, and I wouldn't have been overweight. But the family you got is the one that was in your consciousness at the time. It's okay. Our job is to become at peace or okay with what is. Then you've turned that moment or that thing into heaven. How can heaven become but through our eyes, decisions, ears, our speech? It's manifested through our consciousness, through our presence. So what would you like to change? Edgar Cayce, I told the story a couple of times here in the years, but one time they asked Edgar Cayce, can you channel Archangel Michael? Okay. When Archangel Michael came through, he didn't, hello, beloveds. We are one with the oneness of one. That wasn't what happened. That almost sounded like a Monty Python kind of a voice. We are one with the one until we are not one, But that's not what came through. Instead, there was this voice just like, boom. How dare you ask? Because they were asking, Archangel Michael, and how do we open up Christ consciousness? So here comes Archangel Michael. How dare you ask for Christ consciousness, which makes you, we're supposed to be scared of God. No, he's saying, be careful what you ask for. You're asking to have channeled Christ consciousness right here and now? Really? You want to know how to awaken Christ consciousness? You don't even like each other. That's what Archangel Michael told them. You, even in your spiritual little Edgar Casey study group, when you're done with Edgar's channeling, you start bitching about each other. Did you notice Gladys's hair today? That's not how you would get there. But he warns them. But the fact that you're going to ask for it while still acting so bloody incongruent, you're going to pay the price. He's not telling you he's going to harm you. He's telling you when you live incongruent, that's why I said, so don't ask for anything. Because as soon as you ask, order up, and you are placed in that spotlight to live up to the thing you're asking. Because that's how you get there. You don't say, God, send me, and God goes, oh, well, okay. And God, like God is a FedEx company or an Amazon or whatever. That's not how this stuff is. It's you ask, here it comes. But what's going to hit you before the gift of it is can you live it? That's a very fair question. I would like to be a good parent, or I would like to be, well, let's find out. Can you do that? And the universe is just, you could call it muscle building, in a sense, consciousness building. Anything you choose to do, you can do. But if you don't believe that, in comes the things that you're doubting. And the tests, you see. And this is on any topic and every topic. You want to become more prosperous. And yet you're sitting there going, well, I'm looking at my checkbook, and this isn't fair because my checkbook, I'm trying to call on prosperity, and yet my checkbook's still a problem. The universe is saying, well, we're trying to see how you can handle $10. And you're asking for the lottery. Now, we can give the lottery to some very unawakened people. You know why? Because they're not asking for anything better. They're going to get the lottery, they're going to lose it. Because that's the statistics. They lose the lottery soon after they get it. Because it's not in their consciousness. You, unfortunately, you woke up. You sprouted a clue. You should have just stayed ignorant. And so people that are prosperous are walking around planet Earth going, I'm ready to manifest prosperity. No, you're too spiritual. You blew it. You could have had an easier time making money if you wouldn't have become spiritual. Because as soon as you became spiritual, you hold yourself to a higher standard. And now you're going to expect, if I'm going to be prosperous, I have to do it right. See, people that are asleep can get money. You start waking up, you are new. This is not typical on planet Earth. You have to be this new breed of people that says, I know how to be spiritual and prosperous. And it's new, so we're learning it. You have to learn how to be a business owner and spiritual, how to be a mom, a dad, and be spiritual. We're learning something that hasn't been accomplished very often on planet Earth. How can I be the presence of God and be in the earth plane? We were told for lifetime after lifetime, you can't. You're supposed to either get caught up in the world and be part of sinfulness, as they called it, or you're supposed to just abstain from the world and be broke. That's what we were, right? You have heard this, and you know you've heard this in lifetimes, right? People still believe this. Somebody's changing this, and it's us. And we wonder why it doesn't always work. Holistic healing. And I still got a cold. I failed. You didn't fail. I've shared this as well. All my touring and, all years and years, 30, 40 years touring, never been sick in my life. But one time, and this is, more to recent dates, one time, tour. I was everywhere in this country, like on and on and on for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. And all of a sudden I started feeling something. And I'm like, there's a disturbance in the force. Because this was new, man. And I'm like, and it was kind of funny because I remember I went and sat wherever I was staying on this tour, the house I was staying at, and I went, and nobody was there, but I went and sat in the hot tub. And I trying to heat a little bit. And I'm doing prayer. And all I'm doing is feeling weaker. And I'm like, I've never felt anything like this. And it's kind of funny because I went into some Buddhist mantras and did all these things. And I'm looking at it, realizing I'm actually trying to fight it. And I thought, that's strange too. So do I surrender or do I? It's a whole little fishing. Let it out a little, reel it in a little. What to do and not do. I'm watching this whole thing. And I don't give in to things like this. I know how to be in consciousness. So I'm watching this because I'm slipping. Big lesson. So I arrived at my next tour. The person picked me up, and it's a person I knew fairly well. They picked me up and they said, "Hey man, I've got a great, I'm glad to have you back here in this place. I've got some ideas. We're going to go get something to eat. We're going to, and so on and so on." And I just looked and I said, "Something's wrong." I said, "I can't. I don't feel well." And they're like, they knew I've never been sick. And they're like, "Really? Wow, okay." Took me to their house where I'm going to stay. And took me, I did my talk the next day at a church. And I was like this, just like, wow, just gone. And I really ended up with severe pneumonia. But I don't know this yet. I'm just kind of wobbling and reeling. And I walked, when they're introducing me, and I'm thinking, how do I not collapse on my way up to the stage? So I whispered to this person, I said, watch. If I collapse, try to catch me or something. That's how severe it was. And then I'm thinking, I have a workshop too. It's an all-day thing I have to do. And I'm already gone in here, And I'm like, okay, so what do I thought, okay, I'm going to just affirm the workshop's going to get canceled. There's not enough people signing up. Never happens in my life, but I'm hoping today it'll be the day. And they come up to me, "Michael, guess what?" And I'm like, yeah, the canceled, right? This is the largest attendance we've ever had. I'm like, isn't that wonderful? I swear. And I had to do 2 services. And in between, I went in the car and I just died. I sat in the car and just laid there. Like, it was the weirdest thing. They come out, second service, got to go in, do it again. Then at workshop time, all day long. And all I can do is walk up and then channel. Because when I'm channeling, nothing's so severe. So it's interesting because I went through all how do I resist it? How do I fight it? And it was just full on. But somebody was there, the medical professional, and they could, they were talking to the person that knew me, and they said, "No, you have to go hospital or something." So I went, got a check. They said, "Yeah, you have severe pneumonia." And I said, "Okay." They said, "You have to stay here because you're almost dead or whatever, And and I said, "Well, I'll make you a deal. I will not work for a couple of days. Only a couple of days in my life that I ever chose to take a day off." And I said, "I won't work for a couple of days. And I'll stay really quiet." And I did. I went and stayed incubated in this bed. And I noticed this. Even breathing was exhausting. And I learned, it's like people that have chemo and people that, it's an interesting thing when they say, "Oh, come on, you can, you're exhausting even exhausted even trying to not be exhausted." It's the strangest, and I went through this whole thing. And what do? You have to just accept. And there was a part of me going, but I've never had to take a day off. I don't want to blow that record. But I tell you the story because even that was a vulnerable moment that you just have to go, whatever. And it ended up being 2 days with no sessions. But then I just ended up all of them backing up and doubling the numbers for the next days. But it didn't matter because by then I was back. But for a couple of days, just couldn't move. It was just so surreal. Not even the strength to stand without, wobbling. And such a bizarre thing. For me, that was a huge test. It's not about whether you get sick or not. It's how do you handle yourself while you're sick. It's not whether your children all turned out perfect. It's how you handle even that part. Love yourself enough to lay down and rest when you need to rest. Don't judge it. Don't overly critique it. Just, I guess I'm resting today. People talk about, I'm catching cold or flu. This is terrible. Now I have to. You get to rest. Stop the I have to. You get to rest. You get to stay home and sleep. I'm going to have to. People say it all the time. You get to. I got this new job, so now I'm going to have to go to work. You get to have a job. You get to get paid. That's a good thing. It's a positive thing. You're allowed. It's wonderful. You're creating this and not to fight it. So in closing, guys, if you have a cavity, you might have to endure a root canal. Well, I don't want a root canal. Okay, keep the cavity, but it hurts. Be quiet. We already told you what to do and you don't want to do it. Well, but root canal, then don't get one, but it hurts. You see what I'm saying? That's humans right there. Just get the dang root canal. Just come on. Lay down. You're almost dead. Lay down and rest. And I'm like, okay. And it was just surreal. Like, wow, wow, this is just trippy. Can't imagine it. But if you're experiencing it, apparently you can imagine it. Because you had to have imagined it on some dimension for it to manifest. And it doesn't make you wrong or bad. There again, I was tempted to feel all kinds of funky feelings about failure and all that. But I can openly tell the story because it was like wonderful. It was trippy being half dead. Okay? You want to have a nicer garden? You might have to garden more. Oh, I wish I didn't have to. Thanks for sharing. But do you want a nicer garden or not? I wish I this and I would, I talked about coming to Sedona and I noticed that the intense amount of dehydration we can get. And my body responded by swelling. Like for a year, I was like more swollen. And it's like, I could go, well, I don't like that. Well, then drink more water. A lot of you say, I don't drink water. So you're going, you could just say, well, great. Enjoy being swollen up, Because apparently you do have enough water now. You just walk around with it, I could draw maps on my legs, the dents, just because everything's just watery. So I just said, okay, but I'm going to also start drinking more water. It's just something that's helpful. So look at what changes you need to make. And I'm talking about simple ones, gardening and a cavity, but we're also talking about spiritual growth, guys. Do you really want to feel peace? Then the things that aren't very peaceful are going to come up into your mind. I want a relationship that's better. Then you might have to do couples counseling and risk the rejection when your partner might say, I'm not going. There's one reason. One of the reasons you don't want to ask is because you're afraid of the outcome, the answer. And you know what that's going to do? Expose the condition of the relationship. The people that say, I don't want to go get a health checkup. I'm afraid of what they'll tell me. Oh, that's always a good idea. Denial. Well, that'll help. So be courageous. Becoming a better person, becoming more spiritual, clearly takes courage. If you want to explore your sexuality, there's going to be some hits you're going to have to take around that. If you go overboard, you might find yourself feeling guilty, ashamed, used. But at the same time, you have to find out. What are you about? Who are you? And bring that into every exploration. Don't go and try to figure out your sexuality. Don't go and try to figure out how to parent. Find out who you are. I am as God created me, and bring that into parenting. Let the real you do the parenting. Let the real you be sensual. Let the real you do the healing work you do. And then there's going to be moments when things slip. And when they do, remember that they're tests. That's all they are. They're tests. Sometimes you're going to have to bid farewell. If you have friends and you want to improve your friendships, you got to expose sometimes that you have some people that aren't real friends. But I don't want to know that. Go back to sleep. Go back into denial. And now you can live the half-blank life. Or you can say, no stone left unturned. So in closing, I'll tell you this much. A Course in Miracles will tell you, you're going to have two ways to try to change your life when you decide, I want to change my life. I'm ready. I'm ready. Whether you're a church, a household, a business, or person. Whatever you are, whatever you're doing in your life, how can you make your changes? It's going to be one of two ways, besides the easy way or the hard way. The easy way and hard way will get applied in one of two areas. You're going to do it dramatically or incrementally. There's pros and cons with either one. If you're hearing this talk and you say, that's it, I'm going to make some changes. Be careful, because incremental's really nice, because that's only as much as I can handle at a given time. That's boundaries, right? Boundaries, only a little at a time, not too intimidating. The downside to incremental versus go for it is the second category, is that when you make incremental changes, A Course in Miracles tells you, every little adjustment you make, your ego will recalibrate and keep up with that. When you make dramatic changes, it's going to take a bit of time for it to catch up, to find out where did you go? Because you've leaped way too far for it. By the time it catches up, you might be ready to make more changes. In other words, you're keeping ahead of the game. But those dramatic, go for it decisions are going to be scary to you. Why? Is it the God in you that's afraid? No. The ego. Why is the ego afraid? Because it'll get left in the dust. So when you're afraid of huge changes, it's actually the part of you that is not real. It's the part of you that is afraid that it'll disappear if you make those changes. So I'm not a teacher, though, that will walk around and go, pulpits and say, make those changes, go for it now, make them all. It's dangerous, to be a teacher and tell people to do that. Because they have to decide what they can handle. A person should not be the one telling them. You should leap out of that relationship, into that new job, into a move to a different state. Nobody else should even remotely take responsibility for that decision for them. Decide if you want to be different, change your life. Then decide how serious you are, and then decide what kind of changes you can make. Incremental or dramatic. Be careful what you ask for, and you're always asking. Be careful what you pray for, and you're always praying. I don't mean this praying. As soon as this is working, and even when you don't see it working, it's working. Your consciousness is always asking every second of every day. You might not every second be thinking about food or money or partnership. Every second, your soul is asking, who am I? And therefore, what comes from that decision? What that answer? When life isn't going very well, apparently, my answers were not the best. Either I don't know. There, I'm not sure. But when I start recognizing, you know what? I am made in the image of God. That's what I want to start seeing a reflection of. Being made in the image of God. And I'm totally ready for this. I want to be a clearer channel. Then you might have to make some adjustments to your lifestyle of the things that are in the way of you being a clearer channel. I want to be a better parent, then starting to clear things. As soon as I say I want to be a better parent, one of the things that might come up is all the stuff of my own parents that I didn't like. Temptations like that. No matter what you're going to try to do in this world, you try to improve. And if you do it of your own accord, you're going to fight even harder. You're better off saying, I don't know how, and ask the mother to birth it in you. Ask her to guide you in all the nuances of changing your life. I don't have to do this alone. I don't have to make my own decisions, but I do have to be willing to ask and follow. I don't have to be the one to give me my own advice, because apparently I didn't do that perfectly, or I wouldn't be here. So instead we surrender and something wonderful happens. Is that all making sense? All right. The old us has to die. That's what it all comes down to. And we say, I'm ready. If you were ready enough, it would have happened by now. How ready are you? I recommend you take a little bit of a pulse of yourself and say, do I really feel ready for the changes? If not, shh, then lay low. But if you really are ready, then say, all right, here I am. I'm ready for changes. I'm ready to leap if it's big changes, or step if it's small changes. I'm ready. Don't look at it as oh my God, here it comes. Don't put a negative connotation to it. Just more of a vulnerable, here I am. The mother cannot cause you harm. The intensity of the tests that are going to come are all contingent on, or basically based upon how big a change you want to make. In reality, guys, we're already whole and there are no changes to make. If I can identify with that, the changes will seem easy. If I look at it with my own resistance and attachments, the intensity of the changes are greatly dependent on my attachments to my past. I want to keep some of my old belief systems. That's what's going to cause me pain, because Spirit's going to come to you and say, are you ready? Yes. Like the Greek mythological story. You pay your coin to, get the river, the boat across the river Styx. So here comes the boatman, like in the great mythologies. And you're standing there, I'm ready. I'm going to go across this river and face my darkest self and so on. Hades and all that. So you're ready. And you pay, and that coin that you pay, that's going to be your commitment. I'm ready. Nothing can deter me. I know that all I'm going to and towards is my real self. How could that be bad? And we paint this picture that it's got to be horrendous. All it takes is courage. So we're looking at ourselves. The great mythologies, of all cultures, it's always about facing ourselves. No mythology ever really ended with, and this is going to go badly. All it ever was telling you, and you're going to have to face yourself. And we went, oh, that's terrible. We made hell out of hell, you know. And all it is facing ourselves. Let's take a few centering breaths, please. We're going to meditate on a couple of simple concepts. Why were the Israelites told, if you were to look upon the face of God, you would die or be destroyed? Is that because we're not supposed to try to become spiritual? It's an interpretation. And there's two sides to the interpretation. Look upon the face of God and you will be destroyed. What does it mean? And clearly the ego is going to say that because it doesn't want you looking upon the face of God. Why? What would be destroyed if you looked upon the face of God? If you commit to a better life. Careful what you ask for. Well, I am being careful and I'm ready. Greater spiritual awakening. I'm not even talking about the external adjustments in my life. In me, I'm ready. Calling upon Christ consciousness. And in comes Archangel Michael. How dare you? Unless you're ready. Don't call upon it unless you're committed. Are you committed? Yes. How much? It doesn't matter. If all you say is 10%, that's a good answer. Just be true to it. But be careful if you're going to start claiming I'm 90-something% ready. I want 90% changes. That's a lot. I'm sure you can do it. But be careful because it means 90% of you is going to die. Meaning the past. Choose to look upon the face of God and you will surely die. And your answer should be good. I'm ready to make changes in my life. What would you like and what will it look like? There's a simple answer. Teach only love, for that is what you are. That's one way to describe where we're going in our commitment. Be careful what you ask for. I am being careful and I'm making my decision. I am the presence of love. Teach only love means be and act only loving. For that is what you are. Meditate that sentence for a moment. Why does it say for that is what you are? Because our beliefs are what determine our lives. And if our belief is that I'm presence of love, for that is what I am, then I will be teaching only love. And by teaching only love, I become more love. And that's the wave, the tide of love within me as it manifests. Meditate the words for a moment. I choose, I will to teach only love, for it is what I am, and it is who I am. Teach only love. Look at your parenting, your partnerships, your friendships, and just ask, if I were teaching only love, what would it look like? What would partnership look like? And then just do your best to live that. Don't overly pressure yourself. Don't critique and judge yourself. Just decide how much you want to go there. And if you can say, I can only pull it off about 20%, then you have full success by doing 20%. Teach only love in your profession. What would that look like? Lastly and spontaneously, what area of your life are you least teaching only love? And let the Mother, the Holy Spirit, reveal it to you. What area might you bring the light up a bit more? Could be the way you take care of yourself, your diet, your health, your friendships, finances. Where are you not teaching only love? Wherever it is, let's simply do better. No pressure, just do our best. Soak it in and give thanks that you got it, that you learned something today, that you became something, more of something wonderful, and you're aspiring to live that life. I call it living the Christ life. And so it is. Nice job.